Welcome back. It snowed. We're going to commute to Bond Group in my Lexus GX460. Sorry guys, I did not take you along for the ride of cleaning up. It's already done. I don't want to listen to the comments because no matter what I do, I'm doing it wrong. So the snow is off the vehicle. This is good enough. But I'm leaving this beautiful snowscape tomorrow for San Diego for 70-degree weather to go drive the all-new Honda Prelude. And it got me to thinking about controversy and how people just can't imagine having different goals than each other. And that's kind of the fuel behind all the arguments I see on the internet today is how could you possibly want that because I want this? So let's get in, commute to Bond Group, and have a chat. Oh yes. So here's the thing about this. This is my fridge cig. I don't smoke. I don't really drink Diet Cokes, but it is a special occasion sometimes, and you got to have one. And I usually reserve it for airplanes, or maybe I'm at a nice dinner and I don't want to drink alcohol. I'll have a Diet Coke. It's something to do. But I relate my Diet Coke intake to someone who has a pack of cigarettes that last them 6 months and they just keep drinking it. But anyway, let's talk about the Prelude. The Prelude costs $42,000 or $43,000. We'll get that right when we review it. But it has 200 horsepower. It's a hybrid. It has Type R suspension. It doesn't have a sunroof, which is kind of an iconic staple of the Prelude. And I understand why, to some, this does not meet the expectations that they typically had. And that's fine. I think those are valid points. But controversy is always a good fuel for car reviewers and magazines and headlines. Like, look what they did. It cost this much money. Everyone loves an ADM story where a Honda cost $60,000 at one dealership in Ohio. Like, you know what? They did their job. They put up the ADM. They got their story, and now people are gonna rage and probably go shop there. That's all press is good press, isn't it? But when I say people can't understand when goals aren't their own or they're not the same, this is a great example because I keep seeing comments that say 200 horsepower in a Prelude for $42,000, I could get X amount of horsepower for much less. Or you could get 600 horsepower for that money if you bought a used this. And like in some instances, that makes a lot of sense. But is power your only goal? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So here's what got me thinking about this. I go to the gym a lot and you know, I'm not a gym bro, but I do lift and run and I try to stay in shape. And I noticed there's so many different body types out there. There's people training different things. There's people who are there because they're power lifters. There's people there because they're athletes, they're runners, they're volleyball players, they're lacrosse players, they're wrestlers, whatever. Everyone's there doing something different. There's not a specific goal in mind other than achieving some level of fitness for a thing they're doing. Some people, it's a little more ambiguous. It's just, you know, the benefit of preventing heart disease. So you see middle-aged and older folks out there just doing their best, trying to be on the treadmill and getting all that stuff done. And then you see people who are there like dedicating their lives to building muscle and eating exactly the way they need to eat to get the right protein and this and that. And what I think would be a huge mistake is if they looked at each other and said, you're doing it wrong. You're not doing, this is really annoying. Yeah, we need to mute that. That's gonna drive me nuts. Hopefully whatever's there is gonna blow off. And I think we do this with cars because if you're a drag racer who builds like monster GTRs and you're just out there to set a 7-second quarter mile time, then of course you would look at somebody buying a Prelude or a Civic and think like, wow, why would you spend $40,000 or $50,000 on that? It doesn't even do a 10-second quarter mile, let alone a 12 or 13-second quarter mile. That's terrible dollar per second in the thing that I value. But that's not why we built that car. That's not the purpose. And I'm looking forward to hearing Honda's purpose behind the Prelude because I think I have an idea what it is. It makes sense to me. And my hypothesis is that as there's a Civic, as someone who owned a Civic Si and also really loved the economy and power delivery of the Honda Civic Hybrid, and the handling of the suspension in the Civic Type R, I'm like, well, it kind of makes sense to combine these things into a two-door coupe that has all those things. You've got that smooth, juicy, torquey 200 horsepower hybrid power plant. Then you've got the handling of the Type R suspension. But are the sum of these components going to equate to a great car that everyone's going to want to clamor out and buy? And does it match up to the price point that they're aiming at? I don't know. And that's what we're going to find out. But everyone always wants to presuppose that you're doing it wrong. Why would you work on that when you could work on this? And when you think someone's got it completely wrong, it makes me feel like they're looking at my GX460 and saying, why would you buy that when you could have an X5M? And it's like, they just aren't even in the same category. They do not have the same purpose. Yes, they're both SUVs, I guess, with V8s, and they do this thing, but like, those are not equivalent. And I get frustrated when people don't celebrate a little bit of diversity. Like, are they supposed to just build the exact same thing that everyone else built? Are they supposed to build a GR Corolla? Are they supposed to just make a two-door Type R? I don't necessarily see the purpose in that and how that would be better. Everything matters in the context of the time and place you're doing something. So if you're out there peddling Priuses to Saudi Arabia in 2021 when gas is like 12 cents a liter, probably not a great bet, because no one's out there trying to conserve or save money on fuel, because fuel is essentially free. Whereas if you're in 1973 and you come out with 70 mile per gallon vehicles, like, yes, this is the time and the place to sell Americans extremely efficient vehicles. But goals shift and goals change, and other people have different needs. Instagram is full of 20-year-old hot boys telling you how to make $1 million and how to get fit and how to make a high-protein, low-carb meal that you won't believe tastes good. Like, that's just the whole thing. But what if that's not your goal? What if like you don't really care that much about money? Money is simply a device that allows you to travel when you need to, or feel relatively secure in whatever you're doing. But like, your goal isn't to make millions and millions of dollars hand over fist. Your goal is just to have enough to do what you want to do, because the things you like doing take more time, and those are the things you want to dedicate yourself to, not day trading crypto. Neither one of those people can probably understand each other, and they'll fight tooth and nail over it. But like, why bother? Why bother fighting? Like, let the crypto guy sell to his crypto people. Let the skier guy or the hiker guy or the climber guy proliferate that thing. But I think the messages of some of these people have just gotten so homogenized, and it's depressing because they just don't understand each other. And then you look in the comment section and they're like, why would you do that? That's so stupid. It's like, well, it's stupid to you, but like, why do you got to say it? Why does it matter? Why do you care that someone buys a Corolla and not a Ferrari? There's plenty of really wealthy people who just do not care about cars. They do not drive Bentleys. And it's not because they don't want to be ostentatious. It's because they just don't care. It's not the thing that matters to them. I think we just got to the crux of the issue. It's like, what matters to you? And you're allowed to have what matters to you. You're allowed to care about things that you care about, but you also don't need to neg on the people who don't care about the same things as you. How about that? How about that? I think I'm straight up addicted to my phone at this point. It's ultra depressing. I don't like that. It doesn't make me feel good. I feel like every time I look at my phone now, I feel sad because I'm realizing what it is, that it's just this little dopamine hit that I kind of didn't need. That made it worse. And it's no longer a tool for perpetuating my work. It's more of a tool of obsession, and I'm pulling it out when I'm in line somewhere. I'm looking at it when I'm in the bathroom. I wake up and I open my phone, and that makes me sad. And part of the reason it makes me sad isn't simply because I'm probably relying on that dopamine hit. It's because I'm engaging with it. I'm reading comments on stuff that isn't even my own. Like, I see something controversial, and then I'm like, I wonder what someone had to say about that. And so you go and you look at the comments, and like, it never makes my day better. It never makes anything more interesting. I know every video is supposed to have some level of conclusion. Now, this is more of a thought exercise, but here's the conclusion that I would come to rationally. It's to reduce your intake of viewing other people's goals and expectations for you or for themselves. Walk away from it. Try not to open the apps, hide them from yourself, and allow yourself to do what you're naturally inclined and compelled to do. And then assess what your goals are outside of the expectations of these external forces that do not matter. Try to take a step back from all of the noise. Figure out, like, what is it that you actually want? What is it that you are compelled to do? What is it that makes you happy? What is it makes you feel excited or awesome? And I don't mean like awesome. I mean like what gives you a sense of awe. Because I know that when I was traveling with Chris Amos, we felt that feeling a lot. And I know that we share that feeling with kind of the same things, where we're traveling, we're hiking, we go somewhere wild, we see a great view, we're moving ourselves, heart rates are up, we're well fed and hydrated and just enjoying Earth. Like, that's really what gets me going. I have the best time doing that. It makes me feel capable and alive. I also like driving cars, but I don't always need to be out racing. So I hope this made some sense, because I'm just kind of working through stuff in my head all the time and wondering, like, is that goal my goal? Am I measuring the correct way? Does that measurement even matter in the context in which I'm looking at it? Or am I just assigning societal values or this blanket expectation to a thing that doesn't even follow the rules? So I try to apply that to cars as well, because sometimes cars are just bad objectively. They don't make sense for the context. They don't make sense for the time. They're just a money grab throwaway to make something happen. But I have found that sometimes a parts bin concoction of sorts is usually a good thing. And I think about the BMW 1M in that context, where you had a 1 Series that got a cool power plant, M3 brakes and suspension components, and a rear differential and a manual 6-speed and all this great stuff. And that was fun. I think that's great. I think had this Prelude had a 2-liter turbo with a 6-speed manual, no one would bat an eye at its price or its intent or its purpose. And I am skeptical. However, I am going to drive the car and find out maybe this version of the concoction is actually the thing it was meant to be. And maybe it's the variation in the lineup that is needed to create new customers, to create a different vibe, a different segment, something that I just hadn't thought of yet. So, I don't know. Withhold your judgment on things before you go completely batty on certain things. I think it's totally valuable to talk about price and value, but let's find out what it is before we assign that value to the thing. So, I'm not going to make this one. Anyway, I'm going to head over to Bond Group right now to try to finish up some filming before I head off to the West Coast. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. HHR on a flatbed.